to have a direct debit on a monthly basis, which lessens the amount that you need to pay up front. And just a reminder, for those that aren't members, they're as small as $70 per annum, which is for our students. And we do have partnerships with some of you online, which are at the larger sums. But if you want to set up that payment plan, please do contact us and we will help you with that so that we can ensure you continue to get your membership benefits, which I'm pleased to say is going to ramp up quite significantly in the next month, and you'll start seeing some of those results take form. So your membership dollars will be well worth spent. So let me just do a recap on Small Business Month. So we are again in Small Business Month New South Wales, and that is a festival of so many different opportunities for you as small business operators, people in small business, people that own small business. It's all free, well, mostly free. Ours are all free. And we had our first session this week, and we had the amazing Paul Wade, ex-Socceroo captain, deliver an amazing presentation to us on how we set our mindset going forward and what the important things that we need to consider. You can actually watch that whole session, which is now on our YouTube channel. So if you jump over to Outdoors New South Wales and ACT YouTube channel, you'll be able to watch that if you missed it. But it was a great session, and we look forward to 3 more. So the next one is next Monday. If you haven't registered yet, please do so. Again, it's free. The link's on our website and also on our Facebook page. And that is with Dave Power, who is the master of all things digital. And certainly he'll be talking to us about what works in the world of marketing, particularly in an experience sense. He does a lot of work in tourism. He does a lot of work in the outdoors. And so he's going to help us with some hints and tips on what's going to work for your marketing when you're using social media. The third speaker is Stephen Garrard, who is an economic development professional, and he'll be delivering his session on the 22nd of October. And that session will help identify some of those tools and resources that you may not have known had existed. And these are free tools. These are not expensive tools by any stretch. And he will help you, give you the information to help make informed decisions. I think it's very, very well worthwhile attending that session if you are a small business owner or if you're making a lot of the strategic decisions for your business. And the fourth one, which I'm very excited about, is Dan Cockrell, who is ex-VP of Magic Kingdom, which is a Disney company. And he is speaking a lot on leadership and how we can get the best from our teams. And that's on the 30th of October. So again, if you haven't registered yet, please jump onto our website in our events section and register for those. Each one has a separate link because they've got maximum numbers. So make sure if you're wanting to see all 3 that you register the 3 times for each of the 3 sessions. And you can scan that QR code there and it'll take you straight to the page where you can do that. So this is the first of the QR overload, by the way, as you're starting to appreciate from my sessions. So let me just quickly ask you a quick poll. I want to understand how everyone's feeling at the moment about their COVID plans. As we start getting back to business, I just want to see if you can vote on there for me. Are you feeling confident that you've totally blitzed it? There's not going to be any COVID on my property or in my business. You feel that you've covered everything and that you're satisfied that you've done so? Are you concerned that you haven't addressed all areas? Do you feel like you need someone's eye over it? Are you not really confident, or it's not relevant to me? I don't have any customers. So if you wouldn't mind just jotting down your thoughts there, I'd really love to get a bit of a feeling. I'm liking the results so far, by the way. I've got 2 more that can vote and then we'll be done. 1. And the last one. Okay, we've got 10 out of 11 this, so that's great. Let me show you those results, and really pleasing to see that 60% of you feel like you've covered everything and you're satisfied. So well done to you. It's been a lot to consume, particularly all the templates that are out there. For those that are a bit concerned you haven't addressed all areas or feel like you need someone's eye over it, that's why we're here. So please, if you wouldn't mind, if you feel you want to, send it to me. I can certainly place my eye over it and help you address some of those concerns that you may have on your plan. That's why we exist. That's why we're here. So please use that. And for those that don't have customers, good luck to you. Go and relax and have a great day. All right. Thank you so much for that. Let me get rid of that poll. So just on that note, I wanted to give you this QR code to scan because this is your access to the latest New South Wales legislation, which is the law. This is what you've got to abide by. This is what you've got to follow. The ACT have not yet updated any changes since early September, which means unfortunately camps are still not permitted with ACT schools. We are still trying to get an answer there on when that possibly may happen. My latest contact with them was yesterday, and still no further information has been provided, but we're not giving up there, so we'll keep having those conversations. But yeah, that QR code there will take you straight to the New South Wales legislation, which is what you have to abide by. Everything else is guided through the COVID safe plans. But for those that are feeling a little bit apprehensive or a bit concerned, shoot them through to us and we'll certainly help you out in feeling a little bit more confident, like the 60% of you online. So that's great. The mentoring program, great result so far, really, really great result. And it just shows how many people are willing to offer support and how many are really wanting to stay in the sector, which is great. So now we've got a bit of an equal spread of the mentoring age groups. So we are wanting anyone else that wants to be part of it, whether you're the youth side or the more experienced, the wiser side of the sector, encourage you to be part of it if you're interested. So there's another a QR code there that you can scan off the screen and it will take you to the form where you can be part of our mentoring program. And the last QR code, I did tell you it was QR code overload today, is our NOEC feedback. And the National Outdoor Education Conference is in a period of review to see how we're going to provide the best event for you in 2021. So it's really important that you give us your feedback. If you have attended before, great, use that experience to tell us what you're wanting from this event. If you haven't attended before, we're really keen to also hear from you on what will help you in getting on top of some of the challenges that you have as a business in the outdoors has, and what this event could possibly provide to you. So if you wouldn't mind completing that, that'll be open for the next couple of weeks. So if you want to share that amongst your networks, we'd really love that, because the more people that we have adding content into here, the better the result on the actual event itself. Okay, another quick poll for you. And if you hadn't noticed or you've been hiding under a rock, we had this thing called the budget this week. Really interested to hear from yourselves about what you thought of the budget. And I suppose some options here. What budget? So you have been hiding under a rock, or was it a budget fail? Nothing happening for me in that budget. Some good, some bad, what I can work out. I'm sketchy on the detail, but it seems pretty good. Or really pleased with the budget and what it will do for me. So just wanted to get a bit of a pulse on what you're thinking from it. And then I will actually drill down into what the budget is all about, as much as I can physically analyse, and how particularly business and outdoor businesses will benefit. So I'll give you a couple minutes there just to complete that poll for me. Right, just a few more going in there. Couple more. Okay, great. All right, I'll end it there, and I'll share the results with you. Whoops, let me just go back one screen. Okay, so most of you are very half-half on some good, some bad, and sketchy on detail, but certainly contain some good stuff. So that's good. We've got a couple there that budget fail, not going to do anything for me. I feel that that might be a lady saying that, because certainly the gap in from what we've worked out from the budget has certainly been in the childcare area, and certainly some of the age getting back to work. But I'll fill you in on more of that now. So thank you so much for completing that. I'll get rid of that one. So really the budget this year was all about jobs, and coming out of COVID, that was the focus of trying to get jobs. And that is purely because the housing market relies solely on people paying their mortgages, and the housing market is really the basis of a good economy. So the job focus was in 3 different areas from what we've worked out. So personally, it's about tax cuts and putting more dollars back into people's pockets, a lot more rebates, and a little bit of change to superannuation, which made it easier for people. The area obviously that we concentrate on here with our outdoor sector is in the business area. So there's tax write-offs, which were part of the budget and continued from the COVID changes that were made in business write-offs. Carryback rules. So if you're not too sure about, what you're eligible for there, obviously your accountant's the best one, but certainly some great advantages for business and small business in that one. Hiring credits. So if you hadn't looked into the detail, basically if you want to employ anyone that's on job seeker, you can get $200 per week for anyone that you employ between the ages of 16 and 29 that are on job seeker. You'll get $100 per week for anyone aged between 30 and 35 on job seeker. So some great inputs back into the business, some income that you would not ordinarily have from the hiring credits. The other one is the apprenticeships and traineeships. And you might recall from several of our sessions previously when we've been discussing career pathing and also the opportunity for outdoors education and Cert 4s particularly. We've been looking at options with Skills IQ and some of the providers to look at more flexible traineeship opportunities. Well, this certainly highlights another massive opportunity in that space for the outdoor sector, and that is the fact that the government is going to pay up to half of the costs of hiring a new apprentice or a trainee. So a significant investment into that area that can certainly support us in getting our people back into the outdoor roles. And then the last part there is about R&D, research and development. So some more benefits for business if they're focused and put money into R&D, and the benefits that will come back from that, particularly in tax deductions. So yeah, overall, not a bad budget for business, and certainly for the outdoor sector where we can plug into a lot of the write-offs on your expenditure, but also that income from getting people back into roles. And the third column there is around the infrastructure, and there was $100 billion indicated to be spent on roads and water. And interesting, it's gone from shovel ready to shovel worthy. So they're really keen to plug money into infrastructure, again, highlighting that job focus. And there is a bit of concentration in manufacturing and export focus as well. So that's pretty much my surmise. I can pretty much say that the winners, in addition to this, from what I could see, was mental health, which is fabulous from our perspective, because as you know, a lot of what we do helps people with mental health issues, and aged care, some reforms there, First Nations and small business. We think that generically, I don't want to say losers, but the people that sort of missed out are aging workers. Climate change, there wasn't a lot in the budget around climate change. Childcare and New Start. There tends to be some comment around New Start review coming up, but certainly not noted in the budget just yet. So that is my very quick surmise on the budget. I hope that sort of connected some of the dots for you. But yeah, if you wanted to know more, I find the best sites that can give you a little bit more analysis into the budget is certainly Business New South Wales' site or Smart Company. If you follow those two or get their newsletters, they're great resources. Okay, week in review. So a final reminder for your camp pricing. If you run a camp facility and you want to be part of the pricing review report and receive that, please make sure you send that through to myself. And also just a reminder that I'll be removing your names and content from that, and I'll be using the basis of the pricing to formulate the report. And the reason why we're doing this is not only just to help understand where our current position is in the market, but to also analyse where the government funded facilities sit, and looking at their competitive neutrality to make sure that they're not undercutting the market, and sitting equally with our other facilities. As we spoke about before, session 1 of the Small Business Month workshop occurred, and I just thought I'd reiterate a fabulous quote from Paul that he said during that workshop, which is, you could be in total chaos, or are you thinking about what are the exciting opportunities before you? And he said, if you don't remember anything else from my session, please remember this, that this is the very first day of the rest of your life. So it's now up to you. If you want to, again, look at that session, it's on our YouTube channel, and he'll take you through the 4 stages of renewal. And I thought that was very insightful. The last one there this week, we had a great meeting with Public Spaces at the Department of Planning, Industry and Environment. And I think that's going to certainly open up some opportunities for our sector, but also just that connectivity with what they're doing in open space. And it may open up some opportunities for you as businesses in what they're actually doing as well. So we'll keep you informed in that, but a great week, a great short week, and it went very quickly too. So yeah, that was pretty much the week in review. So 2020, I saw this from a McCrindle presentation and I thought, wow, travel plans certainly may have been like that, but I think it was also life was a little bit like that. So what I thought we'd do for the rest of our session today is have a really relaxed conversation around 2021. And I thought I'd start to do that by breaking you up into 3 breakout rooms and have a bit of a conversation around what are your 3 main concerns. So if I can break you into those rooms, share with one another what are your main concerns, and then I'd like you to come back with an agreed 3 from your breakout room. So we'll do that for the next 10 minutes. We might give you 10 for the first one because this is the biggest area. And then we will come back in 10 minutes to come up with the answers, because then we will then start going through and analysing where we need to take these concerns. So let me break you into the rooms. And there we go. Okay, that should get you into those rooms. So if you accept that, and I'll bring you back in now 9 minutes time. That works, Stuart?
I didn't see anything pop up for me
It should have
to
come
go
up.
to a room, so that's all right.
It says not joined. I don't know whether there was something that.
I didn't see anything pop up.
And Ruth hasn't jumped in either. Ruth, are you there? Let me see if I can switch both of your rooms and see if things come up. Something pop up then?
Nothing's popped up for me.
That's interesting.
Just the two of us, the troublemakers.
Oh, well, let's have our own group then. All right. So Ruth, are you there? I think Ruth's disappeared. Okay.
He's on mute.
Yeah, I just asked her to unmute, but it hasn't done it yet. So what are your three main concerns, Stu?
Well, Scouts is always a bit different to most other organisations that are on here. So the biggest concerns for Scouting is having the events to go ahead that were postponed this year or cancelled due to Corona.
Yeah.
So the events going, the big events like the jamborees and so forth will happen next year. We know that the jamboree equivalent for the Venture Age has been cancelled for January.
Yeah.
But they're looking at a big camp in Easter time. So at the moment, that's looking like a goer at this point.
Right. Is there a bit of a catch-up to play? Like, do you have to, like all the things that have been cancelled, have you got to reschedule, or it's pretty much you can cancel them and move on?
We just cancel and move on, basically. The thing that Scouts, I guess, is a little lucky we've got insurance, so we can cancel events and claim it back on insurance.
Right.
But they're a bit wary of some of the insurances like fire and stuff like that we had to change.
Yeah.
So some of the things based on the event of fire or floods, so they won't insure us now if an event gets cancelled due to those events.
Wow. Okay. So that, that's an interesting one in itself, because I think that is replicated throughout the sector.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think we're alone.
Yeah.
But we can get money back because we do have to hire or pay for a deposit on whatever we do. So if it's the national parks, we pay them probably something, or hire equipment to stage that event. And sometimes if it gets closer, then we're buying food and stuff like that. Like the food doesn't normally get bought until a week and a half away from the event, typically.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So, that's interesting. With your events, how has the COVID planning affected the events that you run?
We've reduced the numbers that can participate on the event.
Okay.
And to some degree, it's probably needed to be done anyway, because when you have an abseil event, you don't want too many people at the top of the rock.
Yeah.
Because it's just crowd management.
Yeah.
So we're finding 20 people on a course a bit too much anyway. So
interesting.
It just comes down to management of the site.
So
we've just reduced it so we can have that 4 square metre rule.
Yeah, right.
For the moment, but we might leave it at those numbers going forward anyway.
Yeah, okay. And it's still obviously worthwhile with those numbers, like you're not decreasing your profitability, or because you could break even anyway, don't you?
Our break even point is about 4 to 5 people.
Okay.
And normally we get about 15 or so on the course.
Yeah, right, okay. And as far as food and beverage, you really don't need to worry too much about that, do you? You don't do too
Say
much.
again, you broke up a little bit then.
Oh, sorry, the food and beverage side of things. Do you
No, because these are day events and they have to self-cater anyway.
Okay.
I'm not catering for them.
Mm.
It's only for the big camps and stuff, like they are centrally catered to some degree, but the jamborees are, each group have to buy their own food anyway.
What about...
That's all paid for by the people anyway.
Okay. What about your human resource side of things? Is there, do you feel that you can continue with your volunteer load that you've had? Do you think they'll drop off? Paid staff, all of that type of thing? Is there any change that you think of?
Oh, the paid staff, they're currently working 3 to 4 days a week presently. So, and that's due to the lack of people doing inquiring and stuff like that. So,
yeah, right.
So there is an impact to them because they're being paid less than what they used to.
Yeah. And how do you think that's going to change in 21?
Well, hopefully they can go back to full-time employment.
If they can, yeah.
But, you know, I think we're not alone in the volunteer space. I think guides and all the others are more affected than scouts, but at the same time our numbers have dropped.
Yeah.
Because parents are saying, well, why are we paying all this money when you can't do anything in that sector, in that space anyway? But we run the day activities, or we can now do overnight camps and stuff as of a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, yeah.
But that was all just down to having a Corona action plan type of thing.
Yeah.
But normally the abseiling that we run, or that I run, is 2 days and at 2 different sites.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I'm going to assume from this that obviously insurance is going to be a concern. Getting onto the events again and organising them in a timely way, and then having the staff come back to a full-time capacity is probably the 3. Yeah, cool. All right.
Because once you drop off staff, then you got the qualifications being a bit slower to come through, because that's managed by the office people, and then they come to the assessors, which I'm one.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. I've just got them coming back in 50 seconds. So
you can see coming back now like flies.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a small group today, so I think I think my internet's playing up too. So if it does, Stuart, can you take over?
You need a pedal faster, Laura.
How did you go, Ryan?
It was a very, very, very quiet room.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Just
not much
other
conversation
as well.
Oh,
No,
okay. No. Apologies for that. Do you have a nice day? Yeah.
That's all right. I was going to say I'm happy to listen in and throw my 2 bobs worth.
Yeah, great. I think what we'll do, because it's such a small group with so many on leave at the moment, we'll end up just having an open forum from now. Great. All coming back. Fabulous. I think everyone's back now. So I'm going to stop sharing screen and show you all each other, because we were just saying we've got a small group today, so feel free to unmute yourselves and show your faces. How did you go? What was the sort of things that people came up with? Go for it, Pete. Or Dom, either one.
I just unmuted because you told me to, Laurie. I'm just following the rules.
I also was just following.
You're so obedient.
I guess our group, Pete, David and I sort of talked about planning for what the COVID normal situation for the outdoor sector will be in 2021. And like the concern of that is, I guess the concern that the outdoor sector isn't always heavily considered or properly considered in the decision-making processes. So
Yes.
how do we make sure that does happen? We're talking about impacts on employment, particularly seasonal labour, and some industries. I mean, ours is seasonal, but also industries like the fruit picking and vegetable harvesting industries that are heavily reliant on particularly international labour, like backpackers, and there are communities there. So that's sort of part of it as far as that impact on our economy. And then we were just sort of getting on to discussion about the seemingly all government funding at the moment seems to be linked to COVID recovery, whereas 12 months ago, the government acknowledged that well-being was an important thing, and it was, okay for them to invest in things like long-distance trails and outdoor activities. But now, unless you have the word COVID in a proposal, I don't think it's going to get a lot of attention. So that's a bit of a concern.
No, it's a very good point, actually. Yeah, very good. And I think that I see some connections between the conversation I had in my group, but maybe Ryan, did you, and who was with you, or did you want to just add anything that you see from that discussion?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we've been speaking about here, Andrew and I mainly, and Bree, our staff manager, is just obviously now term 4 that we're back on, and even into term 1. Term 4 is getting busy, but term 1 next year is certainly by far the busiest term that we've had in our calendar for a number of years. So what we're mindful of is just the burnout rate of staff. Going from 6 months of being very, very quiet to straight back into it. At least term 4 is a bit of a transition, but term 1 next year will be, we just need to be very mindful of obviously working longer hours for people and overnights and backing up. So that's something that is probably the most important thing that we're being mindful of at the moment. Yeah,
absolutely. You said term 1 looks to be the busiest on record. So what sort of growth are you seeing?
Yeah, well, it's I suppose the same for this year. Is that over the last probably 18 months, 2 years, a bit of a consolidation, which might maybe some schools would balk around now, but just from the summer weather, so a lot of people have come out of term 2 and term 3, and even some have moved from term 4 into term 1. So it's almost every week now is doubled up in term 1, and we already have had to turn away some of our clients that have wanted to move from term 4 into term 1. So it's
wow.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's still some schools that are still very nervous around it, and one client's moved from term 1 out through to term 4. So there is still a lot of change, and but at this point in time, it's looking as though it is going to be the busiest for sure, with schools consolidating. Yeah, absolutely. And do you, to take Dom's point before about seasonal employment, do you feel that that's going to also challenge you in term 1? It's interesting, and I'm not sure that it will challenge us specifically. I think it'll be a little bit opposite in that we've already worked on getting our rosters out to people, and with that we hope to secure people for blocks of work, which would mean, I suppose, for our clients, better outcomes in terms of the consistency with staff between weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's good. Absolutely, Pete.
Laurie, can I just ask a question, perhaps of Ryan, but perhaps other people in the room? First part of the question is, do other people, are they experiencing this massive ramp up of their business, their service in 2021? And I guess the second part of my question is, how is that going to pan out with the obviously still managing the pandemic, because I don't think the pandemic by 2021 is going to go away. So with this massive increase in programming at the start of the year, how is that going to fit into safely managing COVID protocols for both staff and participants in that forum?
Great question, Pete. Ryan, did you want to respond? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I might clarify that a lot of those reservations are where we work, say, 2 years in advance. So it's not necessarily, it's not a direct result of people postponing because of COVID and then moving into term one. It is quite simply a rollover from our bookings 18 months or 2 years ago. And that's all the change that come about before COVID. And that's where I mentioned the insecurities around COVID, in that there are already schools starting to think about moving, and we've had one client move back to the end of the year out of obviously still the hesitancy around that. So
are they
yes,
feeling
that's
are they feeling it's safer in term four than, sorry, are they feeling it's safer in term one next year than term four this year?
No, that's a hard one to say. I think that the one client that has moved, from our conversations with them, they feel more comfortable moving their program out of term one into term four next year, just out of comfort, and they want it to happen, and they simply just don't want to organise it and then have to postpone it later on if need be. So yeah, that's where that one change has come about.
Okay. Did anyone else want to respond to Pete's question? Because I know Stuart and I covered it off in our conversation, but did anyone else want to answer Pete on his question?
We're getting more schools, next term one next year, and we're getting bookings right through to term four. One of the things that we're struggling with the schools is convincing them that they can't do exactly the same as they've done in the past, that they need to think about perhaps less activities, more time for an activity, so that all of the various COVID things can be done. And that if they're worried about cost, then perhaps shorten the program. So just getting them to adapt to the thing is going to take a bit of discussion.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm concerned about with all my programs, and I've got stuff in term four, is the increase in severe weather. Like if I'd had a program this week up here in the Alps or anywhere in Victoria, we've been hammered, particularly further down south, and Gippsland and all sorts of flooding and everything. So there may be more cancellations from whatever types of severe weather are going to increase at different times of the year. And then you get the problem of refunds. When do you cancel? How do you manage that risk? So I think they're things we probably need to be thinking about. Do we need to try and set up insurance to manage that for all of us?
Laurie, that one goes back to another one that Dave and Pete and I talked about, was the fact that the focus has dropped away from climate change because of the pandemic. So even as an outdoor sector, we haven't, I don't think anyone is actually really talking about climate change like they were only 9 months ago, when we had such terrible bushfires thumping, especially a lot of New South Wales, Victoria and parts of Queensland and other parts of Australia. But the focus has dropped away from it because we've all been obsessed with COVID and the extreme weather, those sort of events are going to dramatically affect our sector. There's no two ways about it. We need to acknowledge that, which is again to have that pressure on, I suppose, in whatever way, whatever difference it might make, as far as getting some action.
One of the things there, Laurie and others, is if we, say, got a first draft of the bushfire and severe weather guidance note, that's being, the Victorian one that we're doing as a more New South Wales and nationally, if we got a draft of that out in November, we're right across the country saying, hey guys, have a look at this, remember severe weather, that would really jog everyone's memory and get people thinking about, I've got
at least in the sector.
Yeah, in our sector, I mean, well, we can do things in our sector that we can't do elsewhere. But even then, once we finish it, getting that out into broader areas that might encourage people in other sectors to think about severe weather as well.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you're right in saying, Dave, that we've probably got to keep our whole sector in mind of what's going to be important coming out of this before we can start educating others. And to Dom's point, I think we've been so COVID blinkered that we've got to get back to really what is the sustainable issues of the whole sector beyond COVID, beyond vaccine, which we hope vaccines soon. Stuart, did you want to talk to your points that you brought up in our little group, or did you want me to summarise them and you can talk to them?
Oh, you can summarise, Laurie.
Yeah. So you spoke of insurance and your concerns around insurance. What do you want to just elaborate for everyone where that concern was? I mean, it's not something we haven't discussed before, but.
Yeah, well, so with the way the Scouts do the big events, they normally take out insurances for the events. So if things don't go to plan and have to be cancelled due to, let's say, a fire or flooding, then we can claim that back on insurance. So the last time we had a cancellation due to fire, the insurance people said, that's the last time we're going to do that for you guys. You should be able to plan a lot better for the event. So that means now we either have to have a plan B for it, have a second site available to continue on with that event, which is not always practical, but in some cases we can, but not for major events.
Which goes to your point before, Dave, about just trying to work through tools or processes as a sector so that we can try to engage the insurers or the insurance brokers and have a mutual understanding or a mutual decision. The other one you brought up was around staffing, and I know that Ryan's brought it up in his area around burnout, but yours was more bringing people on full time because they've all been scaled back.
That's right. We do have paid staff at various locations around the countryside, and they can only go to the office 1 or 2 days a week, and sometimes it's only half the staff that can go back because of COVID, and the rest are working from home. So it just slows down some of the stuff that we do due to they're not having the tools at home, and they have to wait to get into the office to do that particular activity. So it just slows down the process a little bit for us.
Absolutely. Cameron,
can I just ask Stuart, the other one, what about impact on volunteers? Because that's something that has been talked about a little bit, but probably not enough, I think. Is Scouts New South Wales seeing that as far as volunteers not being keen or being concerned about going back into action?
I personally haven't seen it, even though the commissioners say don't do camping, and we don't do camping as a response. So they might do day events. So we might have a day hike here or a day hike there, or an Abseil day here and an Abseil day there, just to keep the people out there doing stuff, but not. So we've only just gone back to having overnight camps as of 2 or 3 weeks ago. And that's all just to manage the COVID. But I think in some cases there's things like we're now seeing as COVID paranoia. How much do you need to do versus how much you should be doing? And not having things run because of having people being a bit too paranoid.
Have you seen anything in Queensland, Dom, as far as volunteers not wanting to go back?
Not a lot in our space, and I guess it's a little bit different because it is outdoors, and that is the big message that we're getting, that, you know, the outdoors is the safest place to be at the moment. But I've certainly heard it, like my father-in-law works or volunteers for Meals on Wheels, and Meals on Wheels in Queensland are devastated. A lot of their volunteers are older too, so they cannot get enough people, and this is a time when their service is actually needed probably more than ever to deliver food to people's homes. So I know there's probably more other organisations are really drastically affected. I think maybe we've escaped a bit of that, but I just wanted to sort of do a pulse, you know, interstate as well. I don't know what's happening in Victoria. You know, I guess everything's pretty much been closed down, but I don't know if that's been a drama down there too.
You see, all Scouts did with it all, we were doing online meetings as opposed to going to the hall. So the volunteers are still there, they're still keen to do stuff, they're just finding it harder to deliver a program virtually rather than physically.
Yeah. Sorry, Dave, you go.
I'm seeing an interesting thing in a small way around staffing, and that's that a number of my staff are not as interested in earning more money as they might have been in the past. I've got one who's leaving to join the New South Wales Police Force, hopefully, so she's looking for a full-time job. But the others, and I pay good money. I mean, I'm offering people sort of, $340 a day to work on the field, or $250 for an admin or a recce for the day. And they're going, no. And I think they've got used to living on less money. Yeah, they've got used to living here and finding that a little bit more time to do things that they want to do. Yeah. Even with good money, going, oh well, yeah, I'll do a bit of stuff, but I'm not gonna chase the money anymore. Not that there's a lot of money in most of the industry, but it'll be interesting to see what sort of changes there are as staff come back into the various companies. How much they're willing to work, you know, how many hours they're willing to work a day. Are they going to stay in the industry itself, or it could be something we have to watch.
Absolutely. What you're saying is very aligned with what McCrindle's research says as well, which was very much a reset on people's lifestyles, and they worked out how much that it could actually do with the finances that they were getting. And the connectivity to family was certainly that really big area where people said we want to retain this. So, I think the days of 7-day week, 15-hour days for a lot of those executives will probably, hopefully, be a thing of the past for everyone's mental health. But I think you're right. It is very, very reflective in the research that I've seen anyway. Cameron, I'm conscious we haven't heard from you, and you're a different part of the sector. Have you got any concerns about 2021 that we haven't obviously touched on?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. Really, I guess still like everybody, desperately waiting for. I know that we're able to go back to camps, but we need the various advices from education departments and whatever about all the specifics that that they're expecting. It's very difficult to act with any great certainty, and I know that people are opting for different things, doubling fleets of some equipment so that they can do the leave one patch empty, unused, whilst it, sanitizes, if that's the right word, through lack of, through simply waiting the time period out. Probably big concerns with regard to the number of people to have inside a tent still seems to just be a bit of an unknown about people have got plans, but whether somebody else, whether a client base or an industry, where the national parks or something like that is going to come out contrary to what they're planning. So, that's all I've really got to add to things.
Cool. Yeah. Just to cover off on your comments there, it's been a big discussion item that I've had with a lot of my members this week about what are the guidelines? Because I think, we watch what Dom's done with Department of Health in Queensland, and it's been a great process to get a solid template. New South Wales have taken a very different approach, as has the ACT, and said, here's the law, abide by that, and here's some guidelines to make yourself COVID safe. So I think what that's done is probably put a little bit of uncertainty into the businesses to make sure that they're doing whatever they should be to be compliant and alleviate risk. The message that I've been sending loud and clear, which is what I sort of touched on before, is abide by the legislation first and foremost. That's your common denominator. Definitely do that. But you need to obviously take the risk of what it is and make sure that you are doing everything in your power to alleviate that risk, as you would with an abseil, as you would with a canoe trip, as you would any other time. So the good thing is we don't have restriction placed on us, but I think that's also put a bit of uncertainty into people's minds. The one rumour that did come out this week, which was interesting, was one of the schools said, oh, the Department of Ed's going to give us a template and we have to abide by that. So I quickly put that one to bed. I rang Department of Education. They said, no way, we're not doing that. So yeah, that message has to get out loud and clear that, you know, what we've provided to date is correct, and completely continue to follow those guidelines. Nothing's changing in the short term. We are still trying to work with health to see if we can get an outdoor activity template, but I'd say as we're starting to release restrictions going forward, it's going to be null and void very soon. So yeah, keep looking at those other templates and guides and use that legislation as the basis, is my advice to everyone.
So the clients that we've been talking to, one particularly seems to be an issue is whether anyone is going to impose a one school requirement on a provider, and therefore what the wording of that is as well. I think, Dom, in Queensland, you know, there's a one school policy, but for instance, if your camp is clearly two different campuses and there's no crossover, you know, but it comes down to the, first of all, who's going to say this, who's going to make this requirement, whether it's DET or some other person that you're beholden to, maybe insurer or something like that, but also the actual wording, so that people like OEG, who might be running multiple sites, you know, the wording is obviously very, not just the intent, but the actual wording is so important.
Yeah.
The rule here, Cameron, is you can do it. But you have to keep both groups completely separate and not have any interaction between anyone from those different groups, and even like literally cleaning your dining room in between uses and stuff like that, which is full on, and it has been really quite difficult. But yeah, that's been a rule that our Chief Health Officer put in place for our, so yeah.
And on the reverse side, we don't have any of those requirements. It's literally, you know, the school has to do its risk management. We do our risk management with our COVID plan. As long as we abide by the 4 square metre rule, we can take up to 300 on site. As long as we abide by the 4 square metre rule. Yeah. So, yeah, horses for courses, I don't know. State for state. Who would have thought that we'd have state border closures? So I think it's just, yeah, it's interesting to see how the different states have tackled it. But I don't know what's better. I don't know what's worse. All I've got to say to our guys is that we've got to look at what compliance we need to have in place from the legislation and work from there. Cool.
I think one of the things we all need to be aware of is a little bit like in New South Wales, where one of the restaurants, that was involved in a little bit of a COVID outbreak, when the checkers came to check, they said, well, we're really not sure who we had on site. Yeah. So it's probably more about knowing who was where, when, who met with whom, in regardless of the numbers. You've got to be able to prove that you're actually in control of the thing, rather than like they said, well, we're not quite sure. Yeah. Not quite sure isn't gonna stand up.
Yeah,
and that's right. One thing that outdoor operators are good at. Like every school is every person who's going to be out there camp, and has done for a long time. There are probably extra bits like getting delivery people to sign in if they have to, or stuff like that. But as far as your normal clients, everyone has a list of them. Like we're good at that. Shops have not done well, and cafes and restaurants have never done that well, and pubs, but we always have. If something I don't think is actually a great departure for us. I mean, every scout group know who's there when they're running their activities. It's just a normal thing you do.
Absolutely.
Oh, we have a participant list, so each time they come on site, they just put, just tick them off and say, yeah, they were here that day or they weren't. So when they were or weren't there. So and every group's the same. They'll know who's there. They won't necessarily tick their names off, but they'll know who was there, when, and for how long.
I'm not sure who's here from All Aid First Aid, but is it Greg, or is there someone else there that wanted to comment from your side of things?
Hello, folks.
Hello, how you going?
I'm good. Doing busy stuff.
Oh,
I'm sorry to say I haven't been half listening. I'm counting bandages.
Oh, okay.
But I do hear your.
As you should be
I
doing.
hear
That's
your
yeah.
My COVID plan was based on common sense more than anything else, and I've been using it for about 3 months. No clients have balked at it, and the main thing that I like to hear them say is that I say, "Do you feel safe while you're doing a course?" And if they say no, I'll change it.
Yeah.
So that's my.
It's a good benchmark.
Templates and stuff, they're good and bad. Templates lock you in as much as help you out. So
Yeah.
double-edged sword.
While we have you, you might be able to help
I think
us.
it's all.
Yeah, with a question that came up in our membership around resus at the moment and COVID safe resus. What is the latest guidelines as far as COVID safe resus?
So the guidance as far as training and the delivery of training for resus is to avoid any mouth-to-mouth contact, simulate it as appropriate. We've added bag valves, the BVMs into some of our courses, and people have had various take-up. And that's fine. We've worked single mannequin as well. We don't put people in groups at the moment as CPR. Yep. So that's in training, and that's been recommended by the Skills Council. The Australian Resus Council, who recommends sort of practice guidelines, they've said to take your risks as appropriate, basically.
Okay.
If you need to do the breaths, then just do compression only.
Okay.
It's still valuable. It's still helpful. It makes a difference. If there's a defib nearby, maybe an oxygen bag valve with that defib, and of course all ambulances will have some sort of ventilation on board. They don't specify anything about remote areas CPR. They never do, but extrapolating that into your situation, so we'll take your risk. If you've got, if that person has COVID and you stick your mouth on theirs, you'll have it too. But you might, but two people might live to have COVID instead of one dead without it. So if it's a family member or a household member, nothing changes. Yeah. If it's someone that you've been working with, colleague, staff member, someone that you're already socially close enough to
you probably got it anyway.
Share a little bit of spit sometime. You're gonna get the flu regardless if you're in a CPR situation, but you're gonna get alive too. So
no, thanks for that.
It's a catch-20, really.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Which is what I think the conversation is, managing the risks.
Absolutely. Is there anything in 2021 that's concerning you from your side of the business?
Got 1,000 things.
You're a small business. What can we say? Anything specific though? Is there anything that really jumps out as a...
No, I do echo everyone. I hear everyone's sentiment. I'm feeling the same.
Cool. Yeah, no worries.
It's an uncertainty.
Cool. Well, good luck with those bandages. It looks like you've got a few ahead of you, so keep going. And I'll try to get... Oh, very good. I try to get hold of Ruth. Oh, very good. Awesome. Ruth wasn't on the line before, but Ruth, are you there now? No, I think she's ducked off for a coffee and never came back. So, guys, look, we're out of time, but that was a great conversation. We never got to really the other side of the conversation, but I'm thinking, Dave, this is our happy hour continuation. So if anyone wants to join us at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I'd love to finish this conversation, knowing that so many people are on leave and we're still working, and we can solve all the problems before they come back. So thanks so much for joining us today, everyone. Have a great day. And if you want to join us at 4, jump onto the Facebook link there that's on our page, and see you at 4. Otherwise, see you next week.
Thanks, Laurie. Thanks all.
Thanks,
Laurie.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you, people.
Take care.
Bye.
Greg, just a small suggestion.